Welcome back, everyone. Today I'm joined by Marketing Director Sina, and we're going to be discussing something really exciting in the world of skin resurfacing, and that's UltraClear laser. Sina has spent a lot of time researching the technology. He's met with UltraClear representatives and has gone through a ton of research and information directly from the manufacturers themselves. So today we're going to break it all down in a way that actually makes sense. Because I know most people hear laser resurfacing and they immediately think heat, redness, peeling, downtime, all that kind of stuff, hiding away for a week. So I'd love to hear more about what this actually is.
That was my first reaction too. I was like, how can something be ablative but also described as cold? Because historically, if you wanted proper skin resurfacing, especially for concerns like acne scarring, deeper lines, texture or sun damage, the conversation usually came back to traditional CO2 or erbium lasers. And those treatments can be very effective, we should say that clearly, but they're also known for being more intense.
Yes, and I think that's the important starting point, if I'm honest with you. We're not saying older lasers don't work, they absolutely have their place. But for a long time, the trade-off was if you wanted stronger results, you often had to accept more heat, more downtime, and longer recovery.
Right. So traditional CO2 and erbium lasers are known as ablative lasers. Ablative basically means they remove controlled areas of tissue. In skin resurfacing, that means using laser energy to remove damaged or aging surface layers of skin, while also triggering a healing response underneath. That healing response is what helps with collagen production, texture, and overall skin renewal.
So my understanding is it's not just taking the skin off for the sake of it. The idea, I'm guessing, is that you're creating a controlled injury so the skin has to repair itself?
Yes, exactly. But the issue with traditional ablative lasers is that they rely heavily on heat, and heat is powerful, of course, but it can be difficult to keep perfectly contained. So the laser hits the target area, but some of that thermal energy can spread into the surrounding tissue. That's where you can get more redness, swelling, peeling, discomfort, and a longer recovery period.
And that's where UltraClear becomes interesting, because when people hear cold fibre laser, I feel like it's really important to clarify that it does not mean the skin is being frozen. This isn't cryotherapy. It's not cold in that sense.
Exactly. Yeah, when we say cold, it's really referring to the way the energy is delivered and controlled. So UltraClear uses a 2910 nanometer wavelength, which is highly absorbed by water, and because skin contains a lot of water, that allows the laser to interact very efficiently with the tissue. So rather than using a lot of uncontrolled heat, the system is designed to ablate very precise microscopic areas while reducing unnecessary heat spread around them.
So the point isn't that there's no heat at all, it's that the heat is much more controlled. Is that correct?
Yes, that's the key. It's a more precise interaction, and that's why I describe it less as brute force and more as controlled energy delivery. The technology is trying to get the resurfacing effect, but with less of the collateral thermal damage that people associate with older ablative lasers.
That makes a lot of sense, because I think when people hear cold laser, they might imagine something very gentle that just glides over the skin somehow and just magically remodels and rebuilds collagen. But it's still doing something quite active.
Oh, definitely. It is still an ablative resurfacing treatment. It can still create microchannels in the skin. It can still stimulate repair. It can still involve redness and peeling depending on the mode used. But the difference is in how controlled that process is.
So Sina, let's talk about those microchannels, because that's one of the most interesting parts. With fractional laser technology, you're not resurfacing the entire skin surface like one flat sheet. You're creating these tiny microscopic treatment zones with healthy skin in between.
Yes, that's correct. The healthiest skin between the channels is important because it helps speed up healing. So instead of the whole surface having to recover at once, the skin has untouched areas around each microscopic channel that can support repair. And with UltraClear, depending on the settings and mode used, the treatment can work more superficially for brightness and texture, or it can go deeper for collagen remodeling.
So is this where the claim multi-layer comes from?
Yes, the surface layer, the epidermis, is where a lot of visible concerns sit. Dullness, rough texture, superficial pigmentation, fine lines. Then deeper down in the dermis, you have the structural side of the skin. Collagen, elastin, firmness and bounce. So the idea is that you can address the visible surface damage while also encouraging deeper repair and collagen production.
I like that explanation because it feels less like one laser fixes everything and more like different concerns sit at different depths.
Yeah, exactly. And that's how aesthetic treatments should be thought about. Not just what is the strongest device, but what are we targeting, at what depth, and how much downtime is appropriate for that person.
And that brings us to skin types because this is a really important part of the conversation. I feel historically aggressive resurfacing treatments have been more complicated for darker skin tones because of the risk of like pigmentation changes, that sort of thing.
Yes, melanin-rich skin can be more reactive to inflammation and heat. So if a treatment creates too much thermal trauma, the skin may respond by producing more pigment, which can leave dark patches. That's one of the reasons some traditional resurfacing treatments had to be approached very cautiously in Fitzpatrick 4, 5 and 6 skin types.
So when UltraClear is described as being suitable across a wide range of skin types, that's a significant point. So I think we need to say this carefully. It doesn't mean everyone can have the same treatment settings.
Oh, exactly. It still needs a proper consultation. Skin type, pigmentation history, melasma risk, medication, sun exposure, downtime tolerance, all of that matters. But because UltraClear is designed to minimize unnecessary thermal damage, it potentially makes advanced resurfacing more accessible for patients who may not have been ideal candidates for traditional aggressive CO2 resurfacing.
That feels like the right way to say it, so not risk-free, but more inclusive and more controlled.
Completely. There's no such thing as a completely risk-free laser treatment, but there are also smarter ways of managing risk, and that's where newer technologies are really changing the conversation.
So let's bring this into the actual patient-client experience. If someone is sitting at home thinking, okay, what does this actually feel like? What can I expect in terms of pain, downtime? What are they looking at?
Well, it depends on the treatment mode. For lighter resurfacing modes, patients may have mild redness for a day or two. For deeper modes, there may be several days of redness, peeling, or that sunburn-like feeling. Numbing cream can be used, and the treatment itself is generally much quicker than people expect.
And I'm assuming results aren't immediate?
No, they're not. You can often see an early glow or improvement in texture quite quickly, but the deeper collagen remodeling takes time, of course. That usually develops over the following weeks and months. So it's both a short-term and a long-term treatment story.
And that's something I always think is important with lasers. People expect one dramatic moment and their skin is just completely transformed. A lot of the best results are happening gradually as the skin rebuilds and remodels itself over time.
The skin is doing the work after the treatment.
Now, we should talk about the practical side of things because people always want to know, is this accessible or is this one of those treatments that sounds amazing but feels like completely out of reach?
Exactly. And at Pulse Clinic, the starting point is always a consultation because the right approach depends on the person's skin, their concerns, their skin type, and how much downtime they're comfortable with.
And what can someone expect in terms of pricing?
Yeah, pricing can vary depending on the area being treated and the mode used. Because UltraClear isn't a one-size-fits-all treatment, some people may be looking for a lighter refresh, while others may need something more intensive. That's why it's best to have a proper assessment first, rather than just quoting a blanket price. The consultation helps set realistic expectations around suitability, recovery, results, and treatment planning.
And from an accessibility point of view, it's not only about the cost for a lot of people, it's also about downtime. People want to know, can I go to work after this? How long will I be red for? Like, when can they get back to normal activities?
That's where newer laser technology becomes interesting, because the conversation is moving from just how strong is the treatment to how precise is it, how suitable is it for this person, and how manageable is the recovery.
And less of that old beauty is pain mindset.
The old idea was that if you wanted visible results, you had to suffer for them. But the field is moving away from that. It's not about avoiding all intensity. Sometimes intensity is needed, but it's about being more strategic with it.
So the takeaway isn't CO2 is bad or UltraClear is this magic laser treatment. The takeaway is that laser resurfacing is evolving. Traditional ablative lasers showed us what was possible with skin regeneration, but newer platforms like UltraClear are trying to deliver the resurfacing and collagen stimulation in a more controlled, more precise, and potentially a more inclusive way.
That's the part I find exciting, because the question is no longer just how powerful is the laser, it's how intelligently can that power be delivered.
Exactly, and that's a much more interesting conversation. So if you've been curious about resurfacing but put off by the idea of aggressive downtime, pigmentation risk, or the old school laser recovery, this is definitely something worth asking about in a consultation. As always, the right treatment depends on your skin, your concerns, and of course your practitioner's assessment. But UltraClear is a really exciting example of where we see laser technology heading in the aesthetics world.
Less brute force, more precision.
And that might be the future of skin rejuvenation. So thank you everyone for listening to this episode. Thank you, Sina, for joining us. And we'll see you in the next one. Bye.